why are we doing this podcast? That might be the question that everybody is asking.
Could you describe the podcast in of itself, the project itself? What?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So for everybody's interest, the Discernwise podcast actually has been created from 4 individuals that aspire actually to share their experience, but also bring in some insights about Islam for the new generations, for the current generations, obviously, in terms of understanding what are the challenges and put the lights on taboo topics, or people might not be, let's say, very aware of it. Potentially also now that we're doing it in English is for people who live abroad, or kind of like to give you just some insights about the Islam lifestyle in France in terms of what the people are going through, what happens, what are the different challenges. I mean, we all know across the globe what happens, but we wanted to give you just some focus, but not just, because we are French and we would like also to contribute for our community worldwide. And we have also different topics that we're going to elaborate on, inshallah, like the Arabic language itself, the Quran, how is it very central for us as Muslims, and what we can do also as just not just being French for France, but also for the world. So that's Discernwise. It's coming to you obviously with fresh new branding, and we're going to be recording on a weekly basis, hopefully to bring more value bi'idhnillah to the audience. And yeah, so this is the beginning. So we're also testing the flow. Feel free to share with us your opinion about what needs to be improved. What content are you aspiring to have in the future? And even if you would like just a one-on-one to know actually the people more in details, right? So we're going to start now with each other. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions that the audience might be willing to know.
Go ahead, Iyad. Go ahead, no worries.
So that's Discernwise in a nutshell.
Indeed. So Discernwise is a very, very important project for us. Basically, what we want to do is make the most of our free time, so to say, provide value to the Muslim community, educational content, podcasts related to various topics, but with the same foundation, which is our values, our life principles as Muslim individuals. So that's really what we are involved in right now. So there is Iyad, me, Luqman, and Jawed. Iyad is kind of a digital marketing maestro. Is that right?
Maestro, I'm not quite sure, but yes, digital marketer. Yes.
Luqman, he's a video editor.
Correct.
And then we have Jawed, who is in charge of finding experts or people who have a lot of experiences and that could really bring value to the community, to our audience. So we are not only focusing on ourselves, we want also to take the mic and put it in front of other people's face and let them share their opinion, their life, their values, and so on. So
correct. And what is your role, my friend?
And my role is kind of a project manager. So I'm
not kinda. It is. You are the maestro.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much.
It's a symphony played by you. Because I have to say it to the audience, I'm sorry, because you're so being humble, mashallah. But everything that is here has started from an idea, as everybody has in their mind. A lot of different people aspire for a lot of different things, but very few that really go to the action and make it happen. So Ossama has approached us one by one in terms of identifying our, how do we call it, like our passion and our motivations, how we can actually bring some value to the project. And through a couple of brainstormings, subhanAllah, it just brought us together. And then I didn't even know about Jawad or even Luqman. I only knew Ossama. And Ossama knew all of us, subhanAllah, through different networking. And subhanAllah, like how it is very valuable to go out there, to put ourselves also outside in terms of seeing who is there. What are our values? Who also resonates with us in terms of projects and all that. So you brought the 3 of us together, the 4 of us with you into this. And everything that you see over here, you hosting us at your place, mashallah. So it is a big thing, a huge investment, mashallah. And may Allah bless everybody in this project. And inshallah, we can bring more value to the audience.
Inshallah. Thank you, Iyad. May Allah bless you too, of course. So coming back to you, Iyad. So
yes.
From where could we start? Maybe you could introduce just yourself. Where did you grow up?
Of course.
And then how was your upbringing, basically?
Great. So just actually a cautious for you. Any question you ask for me, it also goes to you. So be prepared also to reply to all these answers, to questions, sorry. So to begin with, so my name is Iyad. I'm French. I was born in Saudi Arabia till my 12 years old. And then after that, my parents moved to Abu Dhabi. And I lived there till my 19 years old. So 7 years in Abu Dhabi until my high school. And then after that, getting brought up actually into the French system and education. The choice actually of university was quite obvious. It's like we have to go to France to finish the university. So I came actually to France for somehow the first time in my life to discover actually my own country in a way. And then after that, actually, I did 5 years till I get my university degree as an engineer in mechanical engineering. And I wasn't actually even satisfied with my level yet because I'm like, I don't feel that I'm ready to go to work. Really? I still kind of like want to also study a bit more somehow because I don't know why I didn't feel ready or prepared. I couldn't even I couldn't even claim myself being an engineer.
So you haven't joined the workforce immediately, you mean?
I did actually an internship for 6 months in a nuclear plant. So it was actually quite an experience. But it was mostly about coding. And coding what could be like the potential scenarios of any accidents so that we can prevent them and have actions actually put in place. But I realized actually that it was a lot of research. So I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I love research, but it wasn't meant for me. So after that one, I couldn't feel myself kind of like to claim being an engineer. I don't know. Maybe it's the imposter syndrome or something like that. Like I wasn't feeling ready. So I did 1 extra year.
You didn't felt ready to do what exactly?
To go to the workforce, exactly. Okay. As an engineer.
As an engineer. So you were graduated, you had an internship.
Correct.
And even though you felt that it was not the right time.
Exactly. I mean, if we go back a little bit actually in terms of the history and how it was meant that way. I mean, originally speaking, we're from Arabic countries. So Arabic parents kind of like have that idea in terms of you either become an engineer, a lawyer, or a doctor.
Yeah, kind of like the Asian people, huh?
Exactly. A lot of different similarities, right? And cross somehow also Muslim communities. Yes. But yeah, so you see this trend a bit very often. So I'm not very good with literature. So lawyer was not my advocate. And then after that was like medical, it's like medicine and doctor. It's like 11 years, depending actually of the thing. I'm like, I don't want to spend my life studying. But I respect all the doctors out there. Seriously, mashallah, is like it. And this is where you know also your place on earth. Allah hasn't created us equal to each other. And some people have facilities in certain areas. That's where Allah has created you to fulfill. So once you also think about it, subhanAllah, is like Allah has created me for a purpose. What is my purpose? Where can I be of an added value to the community, subhanAllah, and to the religion? So the last choice that remained was engineering. Well, it's not just because it's the last choice, but it was because I was so fascinated by cars, by electronics, by technology in general. So I'm like, you know what? Let me go and find something over there. I mean, for the small anecdote for everybody over here, is like I wanted to become a pilot. So I'm like, we have this renowned school actually in Toulouse and all that is known for becoming pilots. And I spent my time when I was in the UAE watching accidents, for airplane accidents actually. And the thing that I loved about it is the way that how they show you the origin of the problem. How was it? Is it a hydraulic system? Is it what? I loved actually only the engineering component of it. I'm like so fascinated about it. But my mom would enter my room and see me watching this day in, day out. And she would be like, you sure you want to become a pilot? She was so afraid in terms of, no. You know what? Go and look for something else. I mean, become maybe an engineer of an airplane, but don't become a pilot. Like it's a very dangerous job. So that story actually took me to, okay, let me go and find actually any engineering job in terms of mechanical engineering and all that. So I just went ahead. But once I get graduated, I felt that I did not even do it for myself. I did it for my mom. My mom wanted me to become an engineer. So I pushed myself for over 5 years into a curriculum or a system that I didn't fit in, But I kind of like, okay, there's responsibility toward the family, and that's how we were brought up, and you have to really do it and somehow sacrifice yourself. Being the eldest brother also is like, show them the right way of how to do things. Like, okay, the role model, all that heavy weight on my shoulders. And I just went ahead. But after those 5 years, I realized, who am I to claim myself becoming an engineer? It's like, it felt actually a bit odd for me. It's like, I have all the knowledge. I have everything that is there. I did an experience, and I feel myself ready. But the thing that I realized straightforward is, what I love the most is the human interaction, which I didn't get enough in my engineering schooling and all that stuff, because I was only behind a laptop running some simulations, accidents, stuff like that. And I'm like, what? I'm missing something. Yeah. And that was not me. So I did actually an economic school. And that economic school showed me actually different things about HR, interacting with people, marketing. How would you actually, the communication, the art actually of interaction with people, and analyzing personalities, and that accept the others. We are not made the same way, but you need to understand how you can interact with each other, because we need to focus on our similarities and not our differences. And all that, I'm like, wow, I was so amazed within that year. I loved it more than the 5 years that I had before. But alhamdulillah, I used that knowledge. I found actually a job within engineering in building maintenance and facility management. So I kept actually using my knowledge as an engineer, but I loved also the human interaction.
Yeah.
And I did also, after the years, all that is like the digital marketing. It was something that I was inspired to do. I love actually spreading messages to people, showing them actually the right way, the things, how it's done, and bringing actually complicated, let's say, concepts to become simple for everybody to understand. And so that one, I can link it with the engineering.
So your engineering background helped you actually?
A lot. I mean, already in the thought process itself, in the way that you see things, the approach, also the risk management, all those things actually is like, it shaped me in a way, alhamdulillah, that I could apprehend a topic that I might actually, okay, so let's take the Arabic language as an example, right? So mudara, mubtada wa khabar, all those things actually is like, for a person might be a bit too complicated.
Yeah.
What I can take actually is, okay, I can take that as a big view. I can simplify it to explain it to a 6-year-old kid in a way that it is very, let's say, happiness and joy, and bring actually a lot of different, let's say, neuronic connections that people would understand it easily, even though it might seem actually very complicated. But alhamdulillah, that skill helped me actually to take complex notions or aspects and making them easy for the audience.
Yeah. Fantastic. So right now, do you feel fulfilled in your current role? Does it cope with what you really want to do, or do you have like other aspirations?
So my motto actually is continuous improvement. You can develop something, and we always develop processes for our work and all that. It's established, it's there, we deliver. The next step is, how can we improve it?
Okay.
It is always never stopping. We continue always to go beyond and above.
And how come you're that interested into digital marketing then? So, because between nuclear plants and having an engineering degree and digital marketing, it's like there is a huge ocean in between.
Yeah,
Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so one of the connections was obviously I did it, let's say, for my mom, right? So that's one thing.
Okay.
But then also I took the positive of it. And to your point, actually, we haven't even elaborated in terms of the different multicultural backgrounds, because growing up actually in the Middle East, doing my studies in France, helped me also actually to still be multinational, because I wanted to aspire also to work abroad. So I worked in Japan, and I worked also in Singapore for a couple of years. And then after that, now I'm back in France to continue actually working on those. And
you speak Japanese a little bit?
Well, I don't know. Ohayou gozaimasu. Konnichiwa.
Itadakimasu.
Bon appetit. So I did some courses. So I reached a level to understand a conversation, but I could not even speak it fluently.
It's not an easy language, yeah.
No, but that's the thing, is like the way that also engineering has shaped my mindset in a way, helped me actually to really understand a couple of things, connecting the dots in a different way. that obviously helps you in your career and your personal relationships and a lot of different things. So there are ups and downs for a lot of different things. So coming back to your question in terms actually of what made me kind of like change and all that. I mean, I found digital marketing today is the new marketing. I mean, it wasn't even today. It has been for a while. But the normal marketing where people actually would go with the banners, with the TV shows and all that stuff, it helped actually to drive a message to the most audience. Today, it has evolved into the digital platforms, social media, Facebook, Instagram.
Correct.
And if you're not obviously present in those, your message might go unseen and unheard of, right? But you have seen, mashallah, a lot of people who are within the Muslim communities who are doing a lot of different activities and actions and broadcasting about them. They get visibility on social media. If you're not there, even if you are, mashallah, doing Hajj and Umrah for everybody for free, nobody's going to see your message if you don't broadcast it where the people are. So my passion toward digital marketing is how to share the message with the audience in the right way.
But why are you interested into all those things? That's the question, actually. Why?
Over the years, I have been, even within my studies, I was actually with Muslim organizations. So you go outside, we feed actually poor people on the streets, homeless people. You go actually and share also the word of Islam, subhanAllah, who we are, our values and all that. So it was all voluntary. The bigger challenge is that you would see, for example, hey guys, we have a campaign. We're going to go actually and build a well in the middle of the Sahara or Africa. But we need actually donations. So how can we get these donations coming through? So a lot of people still the old-fashioned way. They'll go actually to just their network. They're going to collect like 10 euros here, 20 euros there. But you need thousands for a well. It's not just a small project. But then it is a good thing, subhanAllah. And it benefits Muslim communities elsewhere that you can bring them actually this. But the project that I was in, subhanAllah, was not just about wells. It started from well. But then after that, it became actually an ecosystem where they bring also a school. They build it over there, donation for Quran, donation for books and all that. And I found it like a huge ecosystem. We give you food and water, but those are basic needs, alhamdulillah. Once you have them, what is the next? Education. Once you get the education, society. The mosque, it was always the center. When Rasulullah reached Medina, the first thing that he did, he built a mosque. And it was the center for everything that needs to be done. So when I was doing that, subhanAllah, with them, and the concept of school and all that, I'm like, but how can you sell that concept to people? Because after all, I mean, we call it selling, but it's not even just about selling. It's like, this is a sadaqah. Like, we have also, when you hear that, when you donate or you take actually under consideration an orphan, right, you kind of like support them, you become like this with Rasulullah in Jannah. Like you're very close to Rasulullah. When you hear those things, when I was young, subhanAllah, those messages impacted me. And I'm like, yeah, subhanAllah, we can be actually very close to Rasulullah if we do this. So, but it impacted me in a way that I'm like, why I don't see people reacting somehow the same way, right? It's a big thing, subhanAllah.
Indeed.
Go guys, do it. Go guys, do it. And then the only way that I found that I can spread this word is through digital marketing. It's like, here you go. This is a beautiful image. You might see actually the future. You might see even the design of the school or the well, happy kids. And all those actually have also a lot of impacts. But what I loved about that organization, the donators that come actually and donate, they take them on a trip. Come with us. We take you to Africa. We go together as the full organization. And you see what is the impact of your money is doing over there.
That's fantastic.
And a lot of people come back with their tears. They say, wow, subhanAllah, the way that it is impacting, because nowadays you can see a lot of scams, right? People donate you, they don't know where their money is going to. And that's where I became, subhanAllah, it touched me to the way that I want to use digital marketing to the best. So that we can spread the right word to the right person and to the right people, and also have an impact on society.
That's great. And I think that's one of the best strategy in terms of digital marketing to really show the results, the outcomes, and reassure people that their investments are going somewhere and not not have any idea about the next step. So it's a good thing. I didn't know that you were involved in all those things. MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah.
It's great, Iyad.
This is a good opportunity to know each other too, right?
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, in English. Great.
Indeed. What about you? What are your motivations? And let's start. Who is Ossama Hamdi and where he comes from?
Ossama Hamdi is just a normal individual, I would say. I was born and raised in Paris, in France. Unlike you, Iyad, I haven't been in other countries very young. I spent my whole life in Paris, so to say. I've studied energy engineering. I have kind of a mechanical engineering background. We have that in common, you and I. Then I went, after working 3 years for a big organization, Schneider Electric, their headquarters in suburb of Paris. I went in the UAE, so not Abu Dhabi, but it was in Dubai. And I loved that experience. It was fantastic because you grew up in a country where you have one kind of a culture, one language, one worldview.
Yes.
But then out of a sudden, you go to another country where you have people coming from all around the world, speaking different languages, having different values, life principles, their own way of behaving. So you work with them and you grow as a human being. You grow not only as a person, but also as a professional. So I spent 3 years over there. It was fantastic. And then I went back to Paris.
With Schneider Electric?
No, Schneider Electric was in Paris. So I went in the UAE.
With a different company?
With a different company, a German company. So I was designing HVAC systems, so air heating and air conditioning systems. In UAE, it was mostly air conditioning, right? Yeah. So no heating at all.
Except for saunas and jacuzzis.
So air conditioning systems on yachts, boats, technically speaking, it was great. But then I had also, which is, I think, very, very fortunate actually, a lot of responsibilities. In France, in general, things are really well framed when you tend to occupy a role, whatever it could be. And you know what you could expect, and your role is really well defined. Whereas in other countries where a lot has to be done, and if you are really good at what you do, and let's face it, if you had an attractive passport, because that's a reality, it also plays in terms of image and perception. You could make the most of that, and you could actually take a lot of responsibilities. So I had a lot of responsibilities in UAE. Commercially speaking, you spoke about digital marketing. Well, I had to market the products that were being built in UAE, in Europe, sorry. And I had the whole Middle East to sell. So there were products available, the most complex kind of products you could have on a boat or in a building, which are HVAC systems. We're talking about systems, so the juxtaposition of multiple components to arrive at a certain outcome. The outcome is 21 degrees, basically, with the right rate of relative humidity. So you go there and you have to sell that to customers. Of course, I've encountered people that are locals, so they were not really speaking English very good, and they spoke Arabic. And it was also great because I had to, at some point, explain how an HVAC system, a chilled water network circuit, works in Arabic.
Amazing.
From someone who grew up in France and...
Only French. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was only speaking French. You grew up in Saudi Arabia. In UAE, you had the time to practice your Arabic and to learn it and to really improve it. Whereas it's not really my case in France. Alhamdulillah, we spoke Arabic at home, so the Tunisian dialect in particular. And I had some foundations, but those foundations were not enough, of course. I had to improve them, and I had to put them into practice. So having an experience in the Middle East helped me a lot to improve my Arabic.
MashaAllah.
People coming from Lebanon, from Syria, from Egypt, they have their own dialects. So then you improve, you practice. Sometimes you feel a bit embarrassed, but that's how it is, right?
You have to embarrass yourself to grow.
Indeed. Coming back to, as we are speaking about Arabic, about the Arabic Accelerator program, why is it a program very important to me? It's because I used to really feel not that close to the Quran. And I've made a lot of efforts and a lot of sacrifices to really understand how the Arabic language works. And with the aim of helping other people. So I took everything I've learned, I've boiled it down into a 10-week program available online. So if you really, really want to improve, your knowledge in that regard, feel free to have a look at it. Now, who is Ossama Hamdi? Well, that was the beginning. Is there anything else you would like me to highlight?
Just curious, and maybe actually the audience would be also curious about it. You said you spent only 3 years in the UAE. Why did you come back?
Well, after 3 years, you start to think, to really... Most people do not really stay after 2, 3 years or 4 years. A lot of people really make that transition. So I was part of those people. Mm-hmm. Why exactly? I said to myself after 3 years, well, let's come back to my home country. I felt a bit to be too distant from my family. And I thought that I could, if I wanted to, still come back if I in the UAE or in other countries. So I felt that after 3 years, it was enough. With hindsight, I'm not sure I would have came back, actually. Mm-hmm. I might have stayed because, well, the opportunity is there, the fact that you are not really being taxed compared to other countries in Europe, all those things really are very, very attractive. But nonetheless, it was, I think, a good decision from a personal standpoint. Being far from family isn't easy. Mm-hmm. It's a sacrifices. Leaving your country is a sacrifice in and of itself. So at some point, I decided to simply come back.
Gotcha. It brings me actually to a point, if we can elaborate on it a little bit more, let's say, on a generic perspective, right? It's not about Iyad, it's not about Ossama, it's more as a general. Because we both have been abroad, okay? And in your case in particular, born and raised in France, got the taste of, let's say, international workforce and working abroad in the UAE. When you came back, I mean, you see where I'm coming from, because now you are in Belgium.
Yes.
So which means you came back to Europe, potentially France at the beginning.
Exactly.
But you still have that fiber of, I want to still go abroad. Is that something that, let's say in general, most French people have in mind? And if we particularly, let's say, filter it to the Muslim community, if they go abroad, come back, or potentially they just go with the intention of staying abroad over there. I mean, how would you see it nowadays? And if you can just say to the audience a couple of words on this.
Yeah, sure. Good question. So about other people, I don't know, but being a Muslim in France, well, you tend to always think about improving your situation, improving your environment, and maybe living in a country where you could have a better balance between the practice of the religion and other areas of life. So I think a lot of people indeed are thinking or are considering going to other countries and leaving France. That's a fact indeed. For me, well, when you live in a country where you could really feel that you are part of a Muslim country, no matter the downsides available or what everybody could say, or that government or that minister, whatever, you are living in a Muslim country. It makes a huge difference. Mm-hmm. The Ramadan, mosques, friendship, it's really life-changing. It doesn't mean that you cannot live in a non-Muslim country where you are not really surrounded by all those things, but it's huge sacrifices to just live in a country where your values are not really aligned with what you see around you, with what people are talking about, with all those things. You feel some emptiness. You feel it. And that emptiness is a void that could be filled if you live in a Muslim country. So that Muslim country may be having other disadvantages, some problems, whatever, but that in and of itself is irreplaceable. Mm-hmm. It's so valuable to be able to, for example, pray. You stop your work, it's time to pray, you go pray. Your boss is not going to say anything about it because it is what it is, right? They're going to respect that. It's not like that in France. It's much more difficult. We actually had a conversation about that with Lokman in French in a previous podcast, by the way. to be able to fast, to go to the nearby mosque and not have to drive like 15 minutes and find a way to park your car. All those things really are very valuable. That's the reason why I'm coming back to your core question here. I'm still considering maybe going back to a Muslim country right now, even though I live in Brussels. I feel, alhamdulillah, very fulfilled here.
Alhamdulillah.
I have, I think, what everybody could want, and thanks to God, thanks to Allah about that. But yeah, this I think is something that still is in the back of my mind. So it's so valuable. I'm still thinking about my work experience in UAE and the life I've lived there. It impacts you, you know.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Was it clear?
Yeah, it was. Thank you very much for elaborating on that point. And you're right to put back actually the frame about potentially your opinion more than really generic in terms of what other Muslims would think about it. What I noticed actually is that you use
I'm getting interviewed now, huh?
Yes, you are, my friend. Get ready. I prepared you, right? I told you, be ready.
Usually it's me, actually.
Yes, that's why he has one seat person and I have two. One thing that actually came to my mind when I hear you, because you elaborated, you used a lot the word fulfillment. First of all, what does that mean for you? And secondly, from this particular Discernwise project, when would you say, I am fulfilled, I feel fulfilled with what we have accomplished so far?
So first question, what does fulfillment means to me?
Yes.
Fulfillment for me means being able to really put in practice what Allah wants us to do. There is nothing replaces the kind of feeling you have when you pray and you put your head into the ground. You feel really content and fulfilled. This is fulfillment for me, you know. That nothing come close to that, I know. And that's why mosques are my favorite places on earth, actually.
MashaAllah.
I love mosques.
House of God.
House of God, yeah. And your second question, how is that linked to the project? And if I think that we've fulfilled or accomplished anything, is that your question? Was it correct?
Through Discernwise more in particular, because you described to us fulfillment as general, so applying what Allah's commandments on us and how we become actually a better person also in terms of applying them. So that would be your fulfillment. But then how do you see Discernwise, for example, helping you to reach that fulfillment?
Me personally, you mean?
Yes.
Well, by making it successfully yet. Why? Because the best way to please Allah also is to serve Him. And one way to serve Him is to not keep for ourselves the gifts or the guidance we've obtained, alhamdulillah, but share it with others and others who might not be Muslims also. That's the main thing. And in order to do that, we must not stay passive, but really take action and to really make an effort. And we're going to be, I think, over the years, if we look back, we're going to be hopefully proud of all those things.
Inshallah. So we are two engineers.
Yes.
You mentioned success. What are your KPIs?
That's a real interview, huh?
Sorry, we can divert a lot about
You're
it.
You're very good at it. Yeah, you should take my place next time.
Well, I told you, it's going to be a normal conversation. And we're only two. It helps, right? If we were three, that might be a bit different.
Yeah. What are my KPIs?
Just a couple of examples. Because we mentioned fulfillment, we mentioned success. These are words that I think also from my perspective, a lot of Muslims, unfortunately, they are a bit lacking visibility about it. It's like fulfillment and success could be dictated by every society in a different way. You can see it actually in Hollywood movies. Potentially some people would say it's money. Others actually would say kids, right? I feel fulfilled once my family are fulfilled. So it differs, right? Differs from a person to another. So when we look at it from this perspective, I love the image that you shared about in terms of fulfillment, actually following Allah's plans and what needs to be done, and then we do it. Then after that, I tried actually to bring it to Discernwise, right?
Yes.
Because the audience would like also to understand a bit more about what we have behind this podcast. So there is a team, there is a program to learn Arabic, inshallah, also get closer to the Quran. So a lot of different things. But what would be the success for you in terms of saying, Alhamdulillah, this program has made a success?
That's a great question, actually. Very good question. So, in terms of KPIs,
don't get lost in KPIs.
I think we have unlimited possibilities, and we could, no matter what we do and how successful we could be, there could still more to do. Why? Because medias nowadays have a lot of influence, and we need to kind of compensate that or do something equivalent or better in order for people to learn about Islam, get the right understanding of Islam, and being able to let them know that we exist. And that, for example, we, as Discernwise, we exist too, and we have a platform and we could help them. So there is so much to do. I think, plus what we are doing, it's quite challenging. We are doing this in French and in English simultaneously. So I'm very ambitious, and in the same time, I have to be realistic, pragmatic. We have to go at it one step at a time. But in the same time, I really, really want that project to be successful. And in order for it to be successful, we are going to have to look at the end of the year you spoke about KPIs, I'm going to reply to that question. How many people have joined our e-learning platform? That's one. Two, what was the growth of our respective social media accounts or channels? And what went great and what went bad? What could we improve? Three, how many courses have we sold? Four, could we sustain this activity over time, financially speaking? It's great to have goals and so on, but I mean, let's be realistic. There is money involved in all those things to purchase all those materials, to free up some time, to create courses and so on, to have the right softwares. That's a reality. So those are 4 points. And then I would say 5, do we want to continue? Because after 5 months, 6 months, do we really like what we do? So that's one kind of a personal KPI. Do we feel fulfilled? We spoke about fulfillment. That's my reply. Iyad.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing.
Welcome.
That's really, really insightful. Learning a lot. I mean, you mentioned a lot of different things also in terms of the course. I would like potentially maybe to take the audience attention in terms of what will happen in the courses, what we have in details. It might not be the right forum, or it could be. We could give them some glimpse. Because I know actually that a lot of people nowadays is like, yeah, they're claiming a lot of courses online and all that.
Yeah.
But the particularity about this course itself is it's not going to be just, here you go, these are the videos and good luck. There will be follow-ups, weekly calls, sessions live, face-to-face. People will get a community also in terms of they're going to be interacting, not just to learn the Arabic, but the Arabic that would lead them to learn how to read Quran.
Exactly.
Which obviously in a lot of Western world, actually nowadays with our community or generations, depending, there are a lot of people, unfortunately, that are way far away from the Arabic language. So would you give us just in a nutshell, what would this program have and how it will help somebody who has, let's say, never even spoken Arabic, from their position to reading the Quran in Arabic, subhanAllah?
Good question. So it comprises many steps. Among those, you've already mentioned some of them. So having, for example, a community in the platform, being able to attend weekly coaching calls. But the program, to come to your question, comprises courses that are synthesized and that are well structured. So they have been designed by an engineer. I think it's a very, very important point because of what you said initially. So being able, from your technical background, to take a subject and to structure it, to really take what is important, put it in the right place, and having the right approach and knowing what is important, what is not. All those things helps if you have an engineering background, which is our case, right? So I made the most of my background, of course, taking something as complex as Arabic and structuring the whole project, the whole course in the right way. What does it mean in the right way? We first start assuming that you don't know anything about Arabic. And then we teach you the fundamentals about the Arabic letters, the fact that those letters could have different shapes depending on where they are located, how to pronounce them, the different diacritics, fatha, tanween, all those things. And we make sure that you really have the right foundations when it comes to the pronunciation and the writing. That's step number one. Step number two, introduction to the Arabic language. So before diving straight to what are the rules, what are the mubtada, and all those things that you mentioned a little bit, what is Arabic and what are we talking about here? Arabic is a vast and very rich language, and it is taught in very different ways. And there is classical Arabic, modern standard Arabic, dialectical Arabic. What are we talking about? This is very important because in order to really achieve your goal must be well defined first. That's what we do in the lesson number 2. In the lesson number 2, we provide first a general introduction about the language, and 2, we define the goal, which is to get closer to the Quran. Lesson number 3, we deepen the lesson number 1, talking about huruf al-shamsi wa qamariya, solar and moon letters, and also the hamza, the particularities of the letters. So we take the lesson number 1 and we deepen it a little bit. And then lesson 4 and 5, last lessons of the module 1, I'm going to end up here. Lesson 4, nominal sentences. So what's jumla ismiya? And lesson 5, past tense and verbal sentences, which means, to summarize, by completing module number 1, you will be able to actually build a strong foundation that you're going to rely upon for the next modules in order to strengthen your knowledge and get closer to the Quran, inshallah. Now, how are the courses structured? We start first by the theory. So we take a rule or a set of rules and we explain them in intrinsic detail. Step number 2, we enter into a text, a practical application, just to see how the rules are applied practically. And then we analyze each and every sentence grammatically. So I explain you the role of each and every word and how words are influenced with one another. What's going on in a sentence, basically. Step number 3, Quranic examples. So whenever you'll be learning anything in this program, you'll be able to see how it is applied in the Quran. And you're going to make sure that the rules taught in the lessons are functional and practically applicable. Why? Because the Quran is the main source of Arabic, the main reference, right? And then finally, for each lesson, a vocabulary lists and exercise that you're going to have to do. So I strongly believe that this program is really unique. Spent a lot of time on it, and it will be very, very useful for people that are looking forward to getting closer to the Quran directly without relying on a human translation. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
And I'm going to continue improving it as much as I can here. That's one of my main objectives.
Barakallahu fik. That's very insightful.
Something else, Iyad, which I think is very, very important. So, as you know, I'm not necessarily, I don't come from an Arabic background. I don't teach Arabic. I have an engineering background. So you may wonder, how come, Ossama, you're making all those sacrifices? What led you to do that? There is something. I am a Muslim. You are too. If you really think about Islam and if you look at the world, you really realize, if you really think deeply, you realize that Islam holds the solutions to most of the problems in the world. And the root cause of all major problems are not necessarily social or personal or whatever. It comes back to how we define ourselves in the world, why we exist, and what we do with our time and our life, basically. So Islam provides those solutions, and the Quran provides those solutions. So I think by making an effort to helping people acquire the fundamentals of the Arabic language and get closer to the Quran, it's, I think, one of the most important things to do nowadays. If you look at the world and all the challenges and all the suffering that is occurring, people need to get back to the word of Allah. That's what I believe.
Barakallahu fiqh. That's a great wording over there. I'm not quite sure if we're going to be finishing this episode because that was the last word that is so wonderful. What we need to do actually for the community and how we can please Allah. So any last words so that we can, let's say, wrap up this episode?
Well, I would have wanted to actually interview you yet.
That might be for the next time, my friend.
Inshallah. You're always welcome at my place, Iyad.
Barakallahu fiqh. Jazakallah khair.
So the last word, I think I'm going to leave it to you this time.
Oh my God, I cannot actually really say as much beautiful as what you just said. But one thing actually for the audience also potentially to know, unfortunately we're not a full team today, but something that we have all aspired to in terms of this project is at the beginning, obviously, and this is a reminder for everybody out there, whenever you have a project, have the right niyyah in place.
Exactly.
That was the entrance point for everything. We all know from Sahih Bukhari, he also started the first hadith is the niyyah. Whatever niyyah you have, that will dictate also how are you going to be successful or not in the later stages. So the niyyah for our team, subhanallah, every time we meet, we have a regular calls together. We renew our niyyah in terms of saying, okay, guys, why are we here? Why are we doing this? What is our purpose? The thing obviously is always to please Allah. And the most sentence that we always repeat to each other and we remind each other is that day will come when we're all going to be standing in front of Allah. He's going to question us. What did you do?
Exactly.
So we need to be ready in terms of answering Him. And this is our answer will be, inshallah, through this podcast, but also through different other aspects, inshallah. Happy to have you and see you also around. If you want to also come and participate with us, you're more than welcome. You want to participate in our community, we take your feedback because it is a Muslim community. We all have something to bring in it. It's not just the four of us. We are here just to open the floor for everybody. And inshallah, we can grow all together.
Inshallah.
Barakallahu fikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.